Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready to jump into another deep dive?
Always ready.
Well, today we're going to explore a story that you specifically requested.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's all about the Nisei soldiers of World War II.
Wow, that's a powerful one. Lots to uncover there.
Right. And we've actually got a ton of great material to work with on this one. We've got some stuff from Category 6 media, some things from Sky History, and even some stuff from the History Channel.
Sounds like we're in for a good one.
I know, right? But before we even get into it, just think about this for a second.
Okay.
We're talking about American citizens, people born and raised in the U.S.,
Right.
but they chose to fight for their country, even when that very same country was treating them like the enemy.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine facing that level of prejudice and discrimination. So the term Nisei, it specifically refers to the second generation, right?
Exactly. Like, their parents immigrated from Japan, but they were born in the U.S.
And that distinction is so important because it really highlights their unique struggle, being seen as the enemy, being suspected by your own nation just because of your ancestry. It's heavy stuff.
No kidding. So, how did they even respond to all this hostility, especially after the whole Pearl Harbor thing?
Well, you'd think it would push people away, but actually thousands of these Nisei, they still felt this strong sense of patriotism. They wanted to serve. They actually volunteered for military service. Can you believe that? It's like they were determined to prove their loyalty, to challenge all that prejudice.
Man, to enlist, even when you know you're going to face suspicion, I mean, that takes some serious guts. It's got to be way more than just simple patriotism.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't just symbolic either. Their service was, well, the real deal.
Right, like the 100th 442nd Regimental Combat Team, the 100th 442nd Rate.
Yeah. Made up almost entirely of Nisei soldiers.
And they saw some of the toughest battles of the war. They really proved their bravery.
Oh, they didn't shy away from anything. They were incredible fighters.
I was actually just reading about their role in rescuing the Lost Battalion in France.
Oh, yeah, the Vosges Mountains.
Crazy intense fighting, heavy German fire. They had a lot of casualties.
It was rough.
But they persevered, and they saved those trapped soldiers. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, for sure. They earned so much respect for that. A real place in history.
Yeah, their combat record it's incredible.
For sure. But it wasn't just the battlefield, though. Their contributions to the military intelligence service, the MIS, were equally important.
Oh, yeah. I actually wanted to ask you about that. I was really curious about that whole thing. So it was their Japanese language skills that really came into play there, right?
Yeah.
The very thing that made some people suspicious actually became their greatest asset.
Exactly. They could decipher enemy communications, translate captured documents, even interrogate prisoners of war.
Wow.
I mean, just imagine that pressure, knowing that lives depended on your work.
It's pretty intense.
But those Nisei soldiers in the MIS, they faced that challenge head on.
So they weren't just fighting on the front lines. They were giving crucial intel, helping to win the war from behind the scenes, too.
You got it. Their work was crucial. Some people even credit them with shortening the war, saving millions of lives.
It's amazing, right? It just goes to show how wrong it is to judge people based on stereotypes, especially in times like that.
It's a powerful lesson. Diversity, it can be a strategic advantage. And prejudice, well, it's just plain foolish.
I think that's something we can all learn from, even today.
Absolutely. The Nisei soldiers, they proved that people who are marginalized, they can be the most valuable assets. Their service really forced people to reevaluate their prejudices, It really challenged the fabric of American society.
That's so true. And it's incredible how their dedication and sacrifice really helped to pave the way for greater understanding and acceptance.
It's an important part of history.
It really is. It makes you wonder, though, did their service actually change how the U.S. military viewed diversity? Did it make a real difference?
Well, that's a tough question. It definitely forced a shift in perspective, right?
Yeah.
But the fight for equality, for real recognition, that continued long after the war ended. It's part of a much bigger struggle, a struggle for civil rights, for social justice, and that struggle's still going on today.
That's a really good point.
Mm.
Their bravery didn't end on the battlefield. It continued in their fight for equality back home.
Exactly.
It makes you think about the psychological impact, right?
Mm.
Fighting for a country that's questioning your loyalty at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Many Nisei families were actually interned while their sons were risking their lives overseas.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's heavy. Imagine that internal conflict, The love for your country, the desire to serve, but also the pain of being ostracized by that very same country.
It's heartbreaking. But it also speaks volumes about their strength and their commitment to their ideals.
For sure. It's a testament to who they were.
Their story really makes us examine what patriotism really means, what it means to be American.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue. And their legacy, well, it continues to inspire us to fight for a more inclusive and just society, a society that lives up to those ideals of equality for all.
That's so important. And you know what else strikes me?
What's that?
It's the power of individual stories. For too long, the contributions of the Nisei soldiers were overlooked. Their voices were silenced.
You're right. And that's why these deep dives are so important. They shed light on these hidden chapters of history.
It's about recognizing the humanity in every individual, regardless of background. It's about understanding how their experiences contribute to the larger narrative of our history.
Exactly. And it's about learning from the past to build a better future, one that truly honors the sacrifices and contributions of all Americans.
This has been so insightful already, and we're just getting started. I'm sure you're feeling the same way. We've learned so much about the Nisei soldiers, their struggles, their sacrifices, their triumphs.
Absolutely. It's powerful stuff.
What stands out to you the most so far?
Really gets me is how their story is so connected to the evolution of American identity itself.
Interesting.
They challenge the very definition of what it meant to be a patriotic American. It's fascinating.
You're so right. It's a powerful reminder that patriotism isn't just one thing. It's complex, it's personal. And sometimes it takes real courage to fight for your nation's ideals, even when those ideals aren't fully realized yet.
Well said. Their story is a testament to resilience, to fighting for what's right, to the pursuit of justice and equality. It's a story that deserves to be told and retold. And we're just scratching the surface here. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How history, it's not just about battles and dates. It's about people. It's about the impact of individual experiences.
Yeah, totally. Like, we've talked about how much the Nisei soldiers contributed during the war, both in combat and intelligence, but I keep thinking about the lasting effects. Like, did their service change anything for civil rights? For equality?
Well, you've got to think about it like this. Here they are, serving their country, fighting for it, while facing discrimination at home,
Right.
It kind of creates this undeniable moral argument against that very prejudice,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's like, how can you deny someone's loyalty and patriotism when they're putting their life on the line for your country?
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it forced a national conversation about racial equality. You couldn't ignore it anymore.
I mean, their sacrifices, their accomplishments. I wonder if that planted some seeds for the whole civil rights movement later on.
Absolutely. It's all connected. The Nisei soldiers story, it became a part of this bigger fight for civil rights for all marginalized groups. It's like their courage chipped away at the walls of prejudice.
It's amazing to think about, like, did they even realize at the time how much impact their service would have?
It's hard to say, but one thing's for sure. They weren't just fighting for victory in the war. They were fighting for recognition, for respect. They wanted a future where their kids wouldn't face the same bigotry.
Yeah. And the sources we have, like that documentary from Category 6 Media and the stuff with Sky History and the History Channel, they really do a good job showing that link.
Yeah.
Between their service and the civil rights movement.
Right. It's important to see that it's complex. American history, it's not simple.
Not at all.
These stories, they remind us that progress, it's hard fought. And that individual courage, it can have a ripple effect. It can change the course of history.
For sure. And I think we also have to talk about how they changed perceptions of Japanese Americans.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They challenged all those deep-seated stereotypes, the fear, the prejudice. They proved, with their actions, that loyalty and patriotism, it goes beyond race, beyond ancestry.
It just shows you how powerful individual stories can be. They can change hearts and minds.
The Nisei soldiers, they didn't set out to be heroes or civil rights icons, but their commitment, their unwavering commitment to their country, even when facing adversity, well, it made them both. And their story, it still inspires us to fight for a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to go back to something you mentioned before. The psychological impact of fighting for a country that's questioning your loyalty at the same time.
Yeah.
I imagine that had to have some lasting effects, even after the war ended.
Oh, definitely. A lot of Nisei soldiers, they came home to a country that still held on to that prejudice.
Wow.
They faced so many challenges. reintegrating into civilian life, finding work, rebuilding their lives. Some carried those emotional scars, from the war, from the constant struggle for acceptance.
It makes you realize that the fight for equality, it's not just one battle, it's a
Yeah.
constant process. You got to be vigilant. You got to challenge injustice whenever you see it.
Exactly. The Nisei soldier's story, it teaches us to speak out against discrimination, to advocate for those who are marginalized, to work towards a future where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential, free from prejudice, free from bigotry.
I think we all need to hear that. This whole deep dive has been so powerful. It's really been a journey, and I'm sure you're feeling it too. The Nisei soldiers, their story, it's a testament to resilience, to the complexities of patriotism, to hope in the face of adversity. What are some of the big takeaways for you listening as we start wrapping things up?
For me, it really reinforces this idea that history is alive. It's not just static, it's a tapestry of experiences. And the Nisei soldiers, their story, it's one thread in that tapestry. By understanding their experiences, we gain a deeper appreciation for the richness of American history, for how complex it really is.
It's like we all have a responsibility, right? To shape the narratives, to amplify the voices that have been silenced, to make sure these stories are remembered.
Absolutely. And to continue the fight for justice, for equality, to challenge stereotypes, to work towards a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. The Nisei soldier's legacy, it's a beacon of hope, of inspiration. It reminds us that even in dark times, courage, resilience, and the pursuit of justice, they can prevail.
I like that. A beacon of hope. Their story deserves to be shared, to be discussed. It has the power to change us, to challenge our perspectives, to inspire us to create a more just and equitable world. It's amazing, isn't it? Like how this one group, their story can tell us so much about history. I mean, we're talking war strategy, the fight for civil rights. It's pretty thought-provoking stuff.
You know what really gets me? It's how their story still resonates today. I mean, so many marginalized groups are still fighting for recognition, for equality. It's like their struggle. It's a mirror.
Yeah, totally.
And it reminds us that the pursuit of justice, well, it never really ends. It's an ongoing thing.
It is. And it's like you said, we can't just sit back and assume things will get better on their own. We have to keep learning from the past, challenge injustice wherever we see it, and just keep working towards a more inclusive and equitable society.
Exactly. And remembering is a big part of that, right? Like remembering those who fought for a better future, honoring their sacrifices, making sure their stories are never forgotten.
Totally. And speaking of remembering, we've been using some amazing sources for this deep dive. I mean, if you're interested in learning more, you should definitely check out that documentary from Category 6 Media.
Yep.
And there's some great stuff from Sky History and the History Channel, too.
Yeah, those are a great place to start. They really offer a lot of different perspectives. And there's always more to learn. More stories to uncover.
That's the beauty of it all. Well, it's been an honor sharing this journey with you, this whole deep dive. I hope it's been as inspiring for you as it has been for me. The Nisei soldiers, their story, it's a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. It really makes you think about what patriotism really means, and it gives you hope, even in the face of adversity.
It does. Their story, it's a testament to the idea that even when things are tough, hope and courage, they can still win out in the end. Their legacy, it's like a guide leading us toward a more just and equitable future.
Well said. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those minds curious. See you next time.